Welcome to the Weabros Anime Podcast. My name is Arch, and today I'm joined by Steven.
Hello, everybody.
And today we're going to go ahead and go over the same animes we've been going over about. We just had a week break, so we have a couple of them that we're just catching up on here.
Minus one. We did lose one.
We did lose. We did not decide to pick up Cells at Work again. It was thrown out there by somebody, which we won't even talk about by who. But ultimately, we decided that we're just going to drop Cells at Work completely.
We decided that we no longer want to take biology.
Yes. Okay. So the first anime we're going to go ahead and talk about is Banana Fish.
Mm-hmm.
Steven and I are working on just catching up on the episodes right now. I believe we're on episode 5.
Yes.
So to kind of just go over it, I have to say that Banana Fish is honestly quite a really emotional, I want to say, an emotional type of anime.
Very different.
It's very different. It's very it's like not very serious, but it's very, very serious at the same time, because they're really touching up on a lot of issues that that we have gone through.
And it's not it's not doing it gracefully either. It's just kind of like wallowing along and just like I'm still not sure how I feel about Banana Fish. I think it's interesting, which is why I still want to keep watching it. I'm just not sure how much I enjoy the way it handles certain things. I am interested in seeing the relationship between AG and Ash.
It's developing really nice.
Explored. Because if it's not, then I'm just going to write fan fiction about it.
Okay,
but that's essentially the extent. I will say this though: I thought it was funny that they and I think it's episode 4. They kind of turn Ash into like the prison. Prison fun, shall we say? And he kind of just plays it off like, well, I needed to use that to get ahead, and it's like, well, I respect that, because a lot of times, women are chastised for doing that, and this guy just did it in prison.
That's true.
He did what he had to do, and he got ahead. And
that's fair.
You know what? Good for him. Good for the chicks that do it. And that's all I got to say about that.
And it's time for us to start taking notes on how they do that.
I already do that.
All right, we're moving on. All right, well, with that being said, Banana Fish is a good anime, and I think we're going to just continue watching it.
I agree.
I feel like we will end up watching it all the way to the end, unless something, for some reason, just... All right, so let's go ahead and talk about our first anime here, and that's going to be...
our first anime?
Sorry, excuse me, our second anime. Asobi, asobase.
Yes, return to form. These last 2 episodes, episodes 6 and 7, were terrific.
Yeah, they actually
really were great.
They really came back. I gotta say the episode prior to last week when we talked about it, it was kind of a downer. Like, it really let us down. Too many butt jokes, diarrhea, cool, laser beams, sure.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
This one really came back. So since we had to watch 2 episodes of this, honestly, I enjoyed both of them. They were amazing.
There was one though. It was the most recent episode that I think was probably the strongest episode of the season thus far, and it wasn't the most funny episode. Actually, it was very funny, but it wasn't the funniest one. The reason I say it was the best one is because it was for the first time that the show employed continuity. So when they were trying to steal I think it's called the banana papers too, actually.
Oh no.
Yeah. Which is weird, but those papers that basically detail or are supposed to chronicle things that different people in school have done, right? And the student council president, I guess, was using it as blackmail.
Yep.
And it kind of harkens back and calls back to every single thing that the Pastimers Club has done, because they've done a lot of ridiculous things.
They have.
Kind of pulls back and shows the show has not forgotten. And I'm bringing this up because this is the exact reason why we drop Cells at Work, right? This show, right? Yeah. If Asobi Asobase, basically anime sitcom, is able to call back to every single thing that has happened and show, hey, we're not letting our characters off the hook, and do it in such a funny way, in such a natural way, I don't see how Cells at Work, which for all intents and purposes is more of like a superhero / biology mix, right? Like how that one can't have continuity is beyond me. But I thought it was really cool how they did that. I thought in this case, I thought that the acid humor around the trans character was funny. Like, it didn't feel like offensive. It didn't feel forced. It was funny.
No, it was
the
nice.
Interactions with the girls, with Olivia, with Hanako, and with Kasumi, right? I'm already forgetting her name.
How are you forgetting her name?
Yeah.
Come on now.
But the 3 of them was great. And then I also thought it was hilarious watching, Hanako at the end when Hanako was helping Kasumi kind of redo her outfit. I thought that was terrific. The whole the whole thing.
That was just way so funny. Oh man, and the way that they ended that little segment where Kasumi wanted to help out Hanako with her, they're just let me help you. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to talk about is the references that this anime keeps bringing back up. I have to say that there was a One Piece tattoo reference that I showed you. Remember?
Yep.
That Hanako had on her face.
Yep.
Really, really cool. I mean, I know they had a little callback to Case Closed on the first episode as well. I'm sure there's a lot that maybe I'm just like not catching here.
It's called back. I think I mentioned this too to Persona.
Oh, that's
Persona
right.
5,
Yeah.
With Kasumi saying, "Oh, we have to write a letter of intent." So, and then we can be Phantom Thieves. And Olivia was like, "What the?" Yeah, it's funny because when I first, as someone again, as I told you guys, I don't watch much anime or not really too hurt. Well, I feel like now I am. But when I first played Persona 5, I thought it was such a ridiculous concept. I loved the game, but I thought the concept was ridiculous. Like you have to like write your intentions, and then you wear these like barely convincing disguises, and suddenly nobody knows who you are. And Olivia kind of points that out when Kasumi dresses up in her disguise, which looks exactly like a Persona 5 disguise. She's like, everyone can tell who this is you. So it was just funny to see them toy with something that's been so successful, and I really, really like that.
Yeah. Wasn't it nice being able to catch a reference from something that you know about, right? Yes. Yeah. That was cool. I had to go talk about the episode prior to that as well. I did like the little hide and seek segment that they had. Really, really funny when they were just afraid of that little doll that they had made.
Yeah, that was so good.
That wasn't really funny. I mean, it was a poop doll, right?
Yeah.
Please, Mr. Poop, don't get me.
Yeah, and also I thought that before we even escape that, it showed that the Asobi asobase can actually go not just for like the last, but for the heartstrings. That was a really cute episode where the girl was seemingly sick, and then you find out she has hemorrhoids. Like it played into it really well. Like, oh, you assume that she's like terminal or something, and it was just very emotional and nice. And then you find out the girl's just got like lumps in her butt. So
poor thing.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, Asobi asobase is still a really strong contender for one of my favorites of this season, and it's really going back in the right direction. As long as they stay away from laser butt jokes, I'm all with it. Keep the
guy out. What's his name? I don't even keep him out.
Oh yeah, the butler.
Yeah, we don't need him. There's nothing useful about him. He's good when Hanako remembers him for like a second, and that's it. Nothing else.
Oh, and one thing to point out that last episode is Hanako's faces when she was just going ham on making faces. I'm the only one in this room. Let me make these faces.
Yeah. When she was reading Kasumi's
her fanfic.
Yeah.
And she just went for an awful turn.
Yeah.
That was great. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Did you want to bring this one up?
Yeah, so we are still trudging along with Harukana Recieve.
That's right.
Yeah, and in case you're all wondering, Arch continues to point out their eyes every time, even though, by my count, they look exactly the same every episode.
Well, they are still very beautiful. I want to say they are the same, you're right. But it's the artwork that just makes it so beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's the colors. I've never seen anime eyes with those colors.
Yeah, so we had our first. So they had their first tournament. I guess to just kind of briefly summarize the episode. First tournament, and Haruka and Kanata win their first match, I guess, against Mei and her partner. And it was it was one of the more interesting episodes, honestly.
It was,
and it was cool to see kind of the dynamic between Mei and her taller partner. Or actually, I think Mei's the short one because she could be the tall one. I don't know, but. That was cool, and it was nice to see basically a different side of what Haruka and Kanata have kind of experienced. Because remember, Kanata was grappling with her height, and dealing with all that for the first couple episodes, really. And so just to see it kind of come, like basically regurgitated but summarized in different characters and in a different way was kind of cool. And also seeing Kanata just like continue to pokey the.
Oh, that was great.
Kind of funny.
Like she just kept poking and poking and poking. Like, you keep doing that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna block it. I mean, she kind of didn't keep blocking it though, unfortunately.
I do want to touch on something though that strikes me as odd between Harukana and Recieve. Maybe one of you out there can help me understand this. So I think at this point it's pretty clear that Kanata and Narumi were dating, right?
Yeah, I think that was clear from like first episode.
It was like hinted at, but the thing is, a lot of the relationships in the show are sapphic, so I can't tell if it's like, lesbianism is just rampant in this little town.
Well, I mean, in this episode or that episode particularly, wasn't that the episode where they're talking about your girlfriend this way, or is that the next episode?
But that's the thing, because girlfriend, again, we're dealing with translations, and like a lot of girls here in the United States
That's
say
true.
girlfriend when they refer to just their friends that are girls, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I call you my boyfriend all the time. So the
I
thing
am his
is,
boyfriend.
so I'm just curious, is this confirmation of that? And if it is, what is the play between Haruka and Kanata? Because as far as I know, they're cousins. But
I think it's just more so fan service, honestly. Like
when
it's
Haruka blew in her ear, that's that was weird. That was weird.
I mean,
like
Kanata. I mean, she was enjoying it though.
Yeah,
I mean,
literally, I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna walk away and there's gonna be a puddle.
Okay,
It was
you know what?
it was
we're not going
not
there.
great. And so I'm just curious because if this is about to get all incestuous on us, I'm kind of worried.
Well, I mean, I really just think it's just all about the fan service from that point. They're just trying to get fans excited. Yeah, so one thing I want to talk about this episode particularly, because it is in a tournament setting, is that the ecchi is on point in this one. All the curves super accentuated. The bikinis are looking very tight. One thing I do want to talk about as well is this anime is very educational. I know you hate me when I talk about that, but in the tournament we did see that the enemy team had done 4 hits, which is not allowed, that we did not know up until this episode. Mm-hmm. That was amazing. And I gotta say, continually, I think if you just watch this anime, you can learn how to play beach volleyball.
Yeah, I feel so much smarter after watching it. Like Alex Trebek, ask me those questions on Jeopardy, buddy. I'm ready.
Okay. Another thing about it, though, I want to say during the tournament, they did have a big segment of backstory, which I thought was the most boring thing on this planet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not really too much a fan of it. Like, I really don't care about the people that they're playing against because they just didn't have enough build up for me to really care about their backstory. But I mean, it's cool, I guess.
Yeah. It was the second episode that was like extra weird with when they have like the teen idol.
Oh man,
that whole thing was just kind of like nonsense to me.
The way that episode began, we literally sat there and said, "Are we watching the right anime?
Yeah,
like is this it?" One thing I want to talk about was what I really liked about the tournament is that when we were watching it, we kept talking about how Haruka's timing was completely off on her blocking. We're like, what's wrong with her?
You look like an idiot.
And then they actually, talked about it, and like that I think that was them trying to like, subtly show us that, she was messing up, and eventually she did get her timing down, which was great. Other than that, I think what I do want to talk about, it was the very end of this episode when they did get that pop idol to join the actual team. I feel like now they're actually setting up for 5v5s because
I don't think so.
Typical volleyball is, 5v5.
Yeah, I don't think so though. I think
they are because they didn't introduce a second, partner for this girl specifically. And I think they left it like that for a reason. And now all of a sudden the coach comes back. So now they have a coach. They have a roster of 5 girls. I feel like something's going to happen. Like maybe not right now, but it's going to be for maybe a future tournament of some sort.
So maybe they'll be setting up like the foundation in case they want to go that route. But their insistence on staying partners, Eclair and then basically Harukana, right? Like their insistence on staying 2 and 2, I think speaks more to the fact that they just added her because they wanted a 5th person, right? They said the club wouldn't be official until they had 5. So, which by the way, I think is kind of a funny theme that's recurring throughout these animes. Like, Asobi Asobase had that, right? They weren't an official club. Now this one has it. So
that's true.
It's interesting that there's, I mean, obviously, I guess it's just Japanese culture, right? But it's cool as a foreigner, someone who's not familiar with that. Like, I mean, at my high school, my roommate is, Chinese American, and he was president of the Indian club. So, and he was the only member.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well,
so there's that.
That's cool. All right. Well, I think that's enough with Harukana.
Yeah.
I have to say though that it's still pretty interesting. Like it's not a terrible anime. Like I want to say that but it's not the greatest out there. But it's somewhere in between.
Yeah, I mean it's like a 5.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and say it's a 5. So the next anime that we're going to talk about is Angels of Death. Mm-hmm. We had watched 2 episodes of this one as well. And you know what? This anime is really great. Yeah. I have to say.
And here's why. So I was thinking about this a lot lately. And I think the reason why we like it so much is because we are both avid gamers. Because as you watch the anime, and especially the latest episode when she first encounters the priest and before she encounters him, the different trials she has to face, it feels like a video game cutscene. It's kind of stops feeling like an anime when she's trying to get to the priest. Because there's so many different things happening, and they're like, oh, here's your challenge, and it just feels very much like a cutscene before you have to complete the puzzle or whatever the case is.
That's true.
So I think that's why we like it so much, because I'm wondering, would somebody who doesn't play video games as much enjoy that, or would they find it jarring? I think it'd be jarring, because if I was watching a TV show and that suddenly happened, I'd be like, what the heck? So I mean, like I said, it works for me. I really like it, but it definitely, this is the first time, I think, the last 2 episodes specifically, it's the first time that I feel like this feels very much video game anime versus just, oh, this is an anime.
That's very true. What I did like about these 2 episodes that we'd watched, we're starting to see a lot of development between, Zach and Rachel. Zach self-sacrificing himself against the boss. What was her name?
Catherine?
Catherine, yeah. Self-sacrifice, cutting himself open, making him look like he was dead, which he shouldn't. He really should have been dead. Which forced Rachel to go into full badass mode and pull out the gun that she had been hiding since God knows how long.
Which is telling.
Which, something's going on with Rachel. We don't know. But I do want to say that I think that may have been a little nod to the anime Inuyashiki, which had just come out last year, when Rachel shot her gun and said, bang. I need to show you those clips. It's really awesome. It's about a guy who literally just uses his finger and just says bang, and he just starts shooting people and he starts killing them. It's pretty wild. I want to say that it was very artsy on the latest episode. Like, there was so much symbolism going on. It was very graphic. There was a lot of triangles. The triangles I'm believing is religious callback for the Holy Trinity, with her being all about God and finally meeting a priest. Like, it's all starting to come together here.
Yeah. Well, I thought what was funny about the ending of the episode with Catherine is that even after she gets shot, I mean, this lady is just going, Catherine will not give up. And it's interesting to me that they had such a difficult time getting through her stages, basically, because when Rachel first meets the priest, he essentially says, like, well, you have to prove to me that you're, worth kind of helping. So if you want me to help, or if you want to get this guy Zach some hemorrhage not repellent, but restrict, or whatever it was that he was
whatever's going to help him survive. Yes.
When he was asking for that, he's like, you have to go basically backwards, so you have to walk all the way back up the these different puzzles that you've already done, or excuse me, I guess down. And what's funny is when she starts going to Catherine's room, she immediately gets bombarded by basically zombies, right? So, and again, to me, like I said, this felt very much like, okay, yeah, this is a video game. They need to, we're not at the last boss fight. Yeah, you got to go back and retrace your steps, and
it feels like Mega Man, really.
Yeah, it feels like Kingdom Hearts revisiting the second world. Yeah. It's like, you got to just go back. And so, and it was cool to see Rachel, though. I mean, look at her evolution. She started as like the meek little dove that Zach had to always save, and now, when she's with the zombies, she's literally like running and gunning.
It's literally what she's doing.
And then it's such a twist. And I think the point of this whole thing, of her going back now, I mean, the priest tells her, like, you have to, admit your sins, own up to your sins. And there wasn't much for her, at least that we know of, right, for her to own up to. And now she's going through basically killing people. Because, we're assuming they're zombies, but maybe they're not. She's the one who killed Catherine. And seeing all that, all the different things that she has to, but essentially atone for now. It's just interesting because we don't know what's on Eddie's floor. We don't know what's on the doctor's floor. No. And I mean, Arch and I were discussing this. I have no idea what obstacles will be there. I figured that we'd have something like this because I feel like at some point we saw a zombie or another person in Catherine's realm. So I don't know what we're gonna see in the grave one. I think that has me intrigued the most. But it's just interesting because it's like, okay, well, let's find out. We can start speculating about what we're gonna see, but it does seem, as we said, that the anime is coming to kind of a close, like it's heading towards.
It feels like that, but I mean, there's so many more episodes left, so we're just wondering how they're going to tie it all together.
Exactly, and what I don't want is for them to do the same thing that they did before during Eddie's episodes, where they kind of just split it into 2 episodes for essentially no reason, because those 2 episodes, not enough happened. Yeah, it could have been 1 episode. So we'll see. I mean, I'm curious to see. The priest is probably, at least thus far, I think the most interesting character we've had.
Yeah. And he really fits like the entire genre of her, wanting to be, kami-sama.
Yeah, he has the best of all the characters because he has that like sense that you can't you know he's bad. You can tell he's evil, that he's not looking out for her best interest, but he's not so cynical like Catherine, where you're just like, okay, there's no redeeming qualities. I mean, it does seem like he's trying to help Rachel get something for Zach, right? Because he's like, okay, you want to help Zach? Sure, I'll help you, but you have to do this, right? Get these challenges.
You know, like he keeps letting out like this aura or, you know, this purple gas. Purple. Mm-hmm. So, you know, she could be hallucinating, and like, as you were saying, that they may not be zombies. She actually might be killing actual real people.
That's what I'm saying. So we don't know. I mean, for all we know, this like you said, could be a hallucinogen, and she's really just, you know.
But, you know, at the same time, she is just like, she is very like adamant and, you know, doing anything possible to help Zach out, which is a great change in her character. And I'm hoping to see, you know, like what is really going on, because, you know, during the entire first trial before she met the priest, you know, it kept asking her questions like, you know, what is your sin? Yeah. Tell us your sin.
And I think that's kind of like, I guess the last major thing I want to touch on is when in all these challenges that she had to face through, Rachel, at least we're led to believe that she knows what she's, you know, when she cuts the right picture, when she goes and admit and in her own head admits her sin and says, and that's telling her, pick up the pieces of yourself, the true pieces of yourself.
Oh yeah.
And all these different things. She knows it, and we don't know it yet. And I think this is all, like I said, now she's, you know, she's a lot braver. She's running and gunning. This is all leading to that conclusion. We're going to finally learn who she is and why she's there, because he even asked her, why are you here? I don't remember that, but he said, why are you here? And you know, that's a question that's the biggest question I have. Why is she there? I kind of get why Zach's there. I get why Catherine's there. I got why Eddie was there. It makes sense they fit into this weird dystopian, you know, punish people world, but she doesn't make sense unless she is the final boss. And I think she might be the final. Like, I think when she gets to the top floor, or you know, right about to exit, we'll realize that that's actually her floor. And maybe she was the last person that people had to get through, and that's why she ended up at the top, having to atone for everything. So we'll see.
Yeah, so we will see what happens. You know, one of the quotes I do want to say is like at the very, very last line of the entire episode was, "Please do not get in my way."
Yeah,
I was like, actually, oh my god.
Yeah, I meant to touch on that, and I totally slipped my mind. But yeah, that's why I think we're gonna find out exactly what Rachel did, because who was getting in her way, right? Like in this case, we saw like the zombies come out, but that's why I think Eddie's floor will be the most interesting, because remember, he's buried people. That doesn't mean they were dead.
That's true.
So who's going to get in his way, you know? Or excuse me, who's going to get in her way? And then also, Archie and I were discussing this. I still think of all the characters we've seen in this anime so far, I think Zach's remains my favorite because of just how complex his characters become. But it is interesting that he's taken basically a seat. I mean, he was...
No, he's literally taking a seat.
I thought he was going to be with Rachel, like a main character with Rachel, but he's been sidelined so much that I don't think he is. I think he's basically recurring. Like,
no, he is.
He played a big part, but I mean, he's kind of sat out the action the past couple episodes.
Yep.
And in the first episode, he also was only like the villain. So I really like that, actually. I like that this one is committed to having Rachel lead it, and even though Zach had such a huge part and they developed him as a character, I always think it's so cool to have like side characters have these backstories and be fully developed. And that's actually one of my chief criticisms for like Eddie, because I feel like they didn't build him out enough. Whereas Catherine, we kind of, even though we don't know her backstory, we understood her as a character because
she's crazy.
Yeah, exactly, because of the way she was speaking and everything. Whereas Eddie, we saw him in notes and in passing.
I like how you bring that up, and it's interesting because we're transitioning from a Japanese RPG into an anime, and they're doing it really well. But I want to say like the typical like formula for Japanese anime is, you know, female heroine is the lead, and then they have like that strong male character that, you know, is on the side, and they've really done really well, like transitioning that from Japanese RPG all the way to anime, which I didn't think would be possible.
And and it's just, but it doesn't feel cliche either. Like Zach's like the strong male lead, but Rachel now is like, she's picked it up. I mean, she's no longer in distress.
I'm glad that they did that though, because it really lives true to the JRPG nature as well. Yeah. That way, you know, he does have to, you know, at least know that we know that she is the main focus here.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And whatever turn of events it is, I'm very excited to see.
Me too.
All right, so I think that's everything that we have to say for this week's episode, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Please do subscribe to us on iTunes, and if you're watching this video, please subscribe to us on YouTube. All right, we're just going to go ahead and end it here, guys. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all again next time.